Let's talk about a truth most people shy away from, a truth that separates the men who only want to be called men from the men who truly embody what it means to lead, to love, to give, to inspire. Because too many times, the conversations around relationships, love, and intimacy get reduced to shallow acts, surface-level gestures, or material gifts. But the deepest foundation of any meaningful connection is not just in what you take. It is in what you give and how willing you are to put someone else's needs at the center. We live in a world where masculinity is too often confused with dominance, with taking, with controlling. But let me ask you this: what is real strength? Is it in showing off? Is it in puffing your chest and demanding that everyone bends to your will? Or is it in the ability to humble yourself, to serve with love, to make your partner feel seen, valued, respected, honored? Real power is not found in how loud you shout. It is found in how deeply you care. A man who understands intimacy beyond himself, who sees the beauty in making his woman feel treasured, who invests in her joy, her confidence, her sense of worth. He is a man who has unlocked a rare form of motivation, because intimacy is not just physical. It is psychological, it is emotional, it is spiritual. When you truly honor your partner, you light a fire in her. And that fire, my friend, comes back to you multiplied. That kind of love cannot be bought, it cannot be faked, it cannot be forced, it is earned. Think about it. When you meet someone who makes you feel like your existence is valuable, who takes their time to understand your needs, who doesn't see giving as weakness but as power, you are inspired. You want to rise to their level. You want to do better. You want to love harder. That is motivation in its purest form. The men who grasp this truth live different lives. Their relationships look different. Their women carry themselves differently. Not because they were told to, not because they were controlled to, but because they were watered, nurtured, cherished. And when a woman is cherished, she glows, she thrives, and when she thrives, she becomes the backbone of her man's vision. That cycle of love and respect produces results that no amount of domination ever will. Some people think love is a battlefield. They think it's about who wins, who loses, who sacrifices more, who gains more. But real love is not about winning at someone else's expense. Real love is about building. It's about creating a foundation so strong that no storm can shake it. It's about knowing that your partner's joy is your joy. And when you understand that, you stop seeing intimacy as one-sided. You stop reducing it to a transaction. You see it as an opportunity to give, to elevate, to empower. Now, let me be clear. We are not talking about men who pretend to give in order to manipulate. We are not talking about performative gestures done in public, while disrespect and neglect take place in private. We are talking about genuine acts of service. We are talking about men who have the courage to set aside pride and ego, and who understand that in vulnerability lies strength. And yes, intimacy is a test of this truth. Because in the moments when you are closest, when there is no mask, when there is no performance, the way you treat your partner speaks volumes about who you are. Do you focus only on yourself, or do you make it your mission to ensure that your partner walks away feeling valued, feeling loved, feeling confident, feeling powerful? That choice, that action, that intentionality, this is where greatness is revealed. When a man chooses to give in intimacy, to honor rather than just take, to elevate rather than just consume, he is not only giving pleasure. He is sending a message: I see you, I value you, you matter. That message plants seeds in a woman's spirit. It tells her she can bloom safely. It tells her she doesn't need to shrink. And when she blooms, she pours that same energy back into him. She becomes his supporter, his confidant, his source of peace, his biggest believer. That is why I say, Men who know how to truly love their women, who know how to uplift them even in the most private moments, are the most powerful motivators. They ignite a different kind of fire. They don't need to demand loyalty because it is given freely. They don't need to control because trust is already established. They don't need to prove their manhood because it is demonstrated in the way they give. Now think about the opposite. Think about the man who only takes, the man who believes intimacy is a stage where he alone must shine. The man who has no interest in the needs, the desires, the confidence of his partner. That kind of man drains, he doesn't pour. And in draining, he creates resentment, he creates distance, he creates cracks in the very foundation he should be building on. Relationships built on selfishness are houses built on sand. They may stand for a while, they may even look strong from the outside, but the moment the storm comes, and storms will always come, they collapse. But relationships built on giving, on respect, on intimacy that honors rather than diminishes, those relationships stand the test of time. And here's the truth. Giving is not weakness, it is wisdom, it is foresight. Because when you give, you multiply. When you invest, you reap. When you honor, you are honored in return. That is the cycle that too many people miss. They think serving their partner makes them small, but it is the very thing that makes them great. A man who cherishes his woman, who delights in her joy, who puts effort into her fulfillment, is a man who builds an empire without even realizing it. Because a cherished woman is unstoppable, she walks into the world with confidence, she supports with her whole heart. She protects with her whole being, and together, that union becomes a force. So if you are listening to me today, and you want to understand what true motivation looks like, it begins here. It begins in the small acts that most people ignore. It begins in the quiet choices behind closed doors. It begins in the decision to love without ego, to serve without fear, to give without keeping score. That is why the men who are not ashamed to care, to prioritize their partner's joy, to lead with love, to see intimacy as an act of service rather than a stage of selfishness, those men are the most powerful motivators. They inspire loyalty, they inspire peace, they inspire greatness. They embody the truth that real love is not about what you can take, but about what you are willing to give. And let me tell you something. When you master this, when you stop chasing superficial power and start cultivating true intimacy, you don't just change your relationship. You change yourself, you grow, you evolve, you rise into a better version of who you are meant to be. Because here is the paradox. When you give, you receive more. When you serve, you are lifted higher. When you honor, you are honored in return. And that is the secret too many men never learn. They spend their lives chasing validation, chasing control, chasing proof of their worth, when all along the key was in their ability to give. So today, I challenge you, redefine strength, redefine intimacy, redefine what it means to be powerful. Let your power be measured in how deeply you care. Let your motivation be fueled by how much joy you bring into your partner's life. Let your legacy be built not on dominance, but on love. Because the men who truly understand this, the men who are not ashamed to honor their women, the men who give in ways that make their partners feel valued, respected, and seen, those men don't just build relationships, they build legacies. They don't just inspire their partners, they inspire the world. And in the end, that is what life is about. Not how much you could take, but how much you gave. Not how loud you shouted, but how deeply you loved. That is the mark of true greatness. That is the ultimate motivation. Now, I want you to picture something. Imagine two men. One walks into a room and all you see is noise. He talks about how much money he makes, how many women chase him, how important he is. His pride fills the air, but if you watch closely, there is no substance. His woman sits beside him quiet, withdrawn, because she knows the truth. She knows that behind the noise, behind the image, there is emptiness. He takes, he demands, he controls, but he never gives. Now imagine the other man. He walks into a room without fanfare. He doesn't need to talk about how much of a man he is. His woman does the talking without saying a word, because you can see it in how she carries herself. Her head is high, her smile is effortless, her energy lights up the space. Why? Because she is loved. She is seen, she is fulfilled. This man has built her confidence in private, and in public it speaks louder than any words he could say. Which man has real power? Which man leaves a legacy? It is always the second, and yet so many men spend their lives chasing the life of the first. They think manhood is a performance. They think respect is demanded. They think love is won by force. They never realize that the quiet power of giving, the strength in cherishing, the ability to prioritize another person, is what actually builds influence that lasts. Let me say this to the men listening. If you want to be unforgettable, if you want your name to be remembered, if you want to be the kind of man people speak about long after you are gone, it is not your money alone that will make that happen. It is not your titles or your positions or the number of people you can order around. It is how you treated the people closest to you. It is the way you made them feel. Did you inspire peace, or did you inspire fear? Did you build confidence, or did you crush it? Did you give love, or did you demand it? That is what will be remembered. And to the women listening, understand this too. Never let anyone convince you that you should settle for less than honor. Love is not supposed to drain you. Love is not supposed to break you down and leave you questioning your worth. Love should water you. Love should pour into you. Love should leave you better than it found you. The man who truly values you will not only want to see you happy, he will make it his responsibility. Not because he is weak, but because he understands that your happiness is his strength. When you are watered, you bloom. And when you bloom, you become a source of life. That is why wise men cherish their women, because they know a woman who is fulfilled, who is confident, who is glowing, becomes a well of motivation. She becomes his safe space, his inspiration, his powerhouse. There is a saying that behind every strong man is a strong woman. But let's be real. Behind every strong woman is a man who either supported her or tried to break her. And the ones who chose to support her, to cherish her, to give to her, those are the men who truly become great. Because when a woman knows she is valued, there is nothing she cannot do. She will go to war for you. She will protect your name. She will invest in your dreams. She will amplify your vision. And here is something men often overlook. When you give in intimacy, when you make your woman feel like her needs matter, you are not just pleasing her body. You are shaping her mind. You are building her self-esteem. You are teaching her without words that she is worthy, that she is deserving, that she is enough. And that message lingers far beyond the bedroom. It follows her into her workplace, into her friendships, into her sense of self. You are not just a lover in that moment. You are a teacher. You are shaping how she sees herself. And when she sees herself as powerful, she becomes unstoppable. That is why men who understand the art of giving, men who know how to honor their women in the deepest ways, are the most inspiring men of all. They don't just build relationships, they build nations, because a cherished woman influences every space she enters. A cherished woman raises confident children. A cherished woman builds communities. A cherished woman carries peace into every room. And all of it started with the man who chose to give rather than just take. I know some of you listening may still resist this message. You might say, but if I give too much, won't she take advantage of me? Won't I look weak? Won't I lose control? And my answer is simple. Only men who are insecure are afraid to give. Only men who are unsure of their own power are afraid to serve. When you are truly strong, you understand that giving does not reduce you, it multiplies you. That is why the most respected leaders in history are the ones who served their people, not the ones who oppressed them. The same principle applies in relationships. Do not be deceived by the culture that tells you love is about control. Do not believe the lie that says intimacy is about what you can get. That mindset will leave you empty, lonely, bitter. The truth is, the most fulfilling relationships are those where both partners give, but it often begins with the man having the courage to lead with service, because leadership is not about commanding. Leadership is about showing the way. And when you show the way with love, with respect, with generosity, your partner will follow not because she is forced to, but because she wants to. And to the women, let me remind you, do not mistake giving for servitude. Do not think that if a man serves you, he is weak. Celebrate him, honor him, pour back into him, because men who choose to love deeply need to know their effort is not in vain. They need to feel the return, and when that cycle of giving flows both ways, when both partners are invested in each other's joy, that is where love becomes unbreakable. So if you are in a relationship right now, ask yourself, am I giving or am I only taking? Am I building or am I draining? Am I inspiring or am I controlling? These questions are not easy, but they are necessary, because the quality of your relationship determines the quality of your life. And if you want motivation, if you want peace, if you want growth, it will come from how well you give. This is not just about intimacy. This is about mindset. This is about a way of living. A man who knows how to love in the small, unseen moments is a man who knows how to lead in the big, public ones. A man who can humble himself to serve his woman in private will be respected effortlessly in public. That is why I keep saying, the men who know how to honor women are the most powerful motivators, because they do not inspire through fear. They inspire through love. They do not control through force. They influence through respect. They do not demand loyalty. They earn it, and loyalty earned is loyalty that can never be broken. So today, if you want to change your life, if you want to step into your greatest version, if you want to unlock the kind of motivation that lasts, begin here. Begin with how you treat the person closest to you. Begin with how you love, how you give, how you honor. That is where greatness is born. That is where real strength is revealed. That is where motivation takes root and grows into something unstoppable. When you start to think differently about love, you begin to live differently. The way you approach your partner reflects in the way you approach your work, your dreams, your life. A man who practices care and generosity in love becomes more disciplined in every other area, because he understands that growth requires investment. He no longer looks at everything with a selfish lens, asking, "What do I get?" Instead, he asks, "What can I build?" That is a shift in mindset that transforms not just relationships, but destinies. And let's be honest, we all crave love that feels safe, love where we can put down the armor, love where we don't have to fight to be heard or beg to be seen. For women, that safety often comes when a man demonstrates selflessness, when he shows he can listen, when he takes time to pay attention, when he prioritizes not just his own satisfaction, but hers too. That is when she feels at home. That is when her heart rests. And when a woman feels at home, she is unstoppable. She will build anything with you because she knows you are not her competitor. You are her partner. But look at what happens when a man refuses to give. Look at what happens when ego becomes bigger than love. The relationship becomes a battlefield. The woman withdraws. The man grows frustrated. They stop speaking the language of love and begin speaking the language of survival. She survives by protecting her heart. He survives by pretending he doesn't care. And soon, what could have been a story of greatness becomes a story of pain. All because he refused to understand the power of giving. The saddest part is, many men think giving is about money. They think as long as they provide, they have fulfilled their duty. But what use is money without tenderness? What use is a roof over your head if there is no love under that roof? What use is food on the table if no one wants to sit at the table? Provision without affection is emptiness. Care without respect is nothing. True giving goes beyond the wallet. It is in the way you speak, in the way you touch, in the way you listen, in the way you honor your partner's soul. And that is why intimacy is so important. It is the most vulnerable moment two people can share. It is where the masks fall. It is where the truth shows, and in that space, a man's choices reveal everything. If he only takes, he shows his selfishness. If he gives, he shows his strength. And trust me, women never forget. A woman may forget the words you spoke, but she will never forget how you made her feel. If you make her feel small, she will remember. If you make her feel worthy, she will remember. This is why men who honor their women become unforgettable. They don't just exist in memory, they exist in legacy, because the impact of that love ripples outward. A loved woman becomes a loving mother. A loved woman becomes a compassionate friend. A loved woman becomes an empowered leader. And where did it begin? With a man who understood that love is not about control, but about giving. Some of you might still struggle with this idea because society has told you otherwise. Society glorifies the loud man, the controlling man, the one who makes everyone bow down. But tell me, who do you run to when your heart is broken? Who do you seek when you need peace? Not the man who shouts, but the one who comforts. Not the man who demands, but the one who serves. At the end of the day, the world may applaud the first, but hearts always choose the second. So if you want to lead, if you want to inspire, if you want to be the kind of man whose presence brings peace, start by redefining what love looks like. Ask yourself, when my woman leaves my presence, does she feel bigger or smaller? Does she walk with her head high, or does she shrink? Does she feel loved, or does she feel used? Those answers will tell you whether you are building motivation or destruction. And ladies, you must hold men accountable to this standard. Do not settle for crumbs and call it a meal. Do not accept neglect and call it love. Demand to be honored, not because you are entitled, but because you are worthy. When you know your worth, you teach others how to treat you. And when a man rises to meet that standard, when he proves his love through giving, then honor him back. Celebrate him, pour into him, because love is not a one-way street, it is a cycle. The truth is, intimacy is just one example of a larger principle. The principle is that giving creates greatness, giving multiplies, giving inspires, and it is the mark of those who truly understand what it means to love. Think about every great leader, every great teacher, every great parent. What made them unforgettable was not how much they took, but how much they gave. The same applies to men in relationships. If you want to be great, start small. Start with the way you treat your woman. Start with the effort you put into her joy. Start with the way you listen to her heart. Because if you cannot lead with love in your own home, how can you expect to lead anywhere else? If you cannot give to the person closest to you, how can you expect to give to the world? Greatness begins in the smallest acts, in the quietest moments, in the ways nobody else sees. A man who gives in love carries a different energy. You can see it in his eyes, you can hear it in his voice, you can feel it in his presence. He doesn't need to prove himself because his life already proves it. He doesn't need to demand respect because it flows to him naturally. That is the paradox. Men who chase control often lose it, but men who give freely always gain it. So if you are listening right now, I am challenging you. Be that man. Be the man who serves with love. Be the man who honors his woman. Be the man who builds instead of breaks. Because the world has enough takers. The world has enough men who see love as a performance. What we need are men who inspire. Men who understand that in the act of giving, they unlock a deeper kind of power, a lasting kind of respect, a love that endures. And when you reach that level of understanding, when you live with that kind of love, you will see how it transforms everything around you. Your woman will glow. Your relationship will strengthen. Your children will learn love from your example. Your friends will respect you not because of your money or your titles, but because of your character. And the world will remember you as the man who gave, the man who inspired, the man who motivated. That is the truth I want you to leave with today. That is the truth too many ignore. Real greatness is not in how much you take, but in how much you give. And the men who understand that, the men who live by that, the men who practice that not just in public, but in the private moments of intimacy, those are the men who are truly unstoppable. So in the end, the truth is simple. The mark of a real man is not in how much noise he makes, not in how much he owns, not in how many people fear him. The mark of a real man is in how deeply he loves, how selflessly he gives, how consistently he honors the woman by his side. Because when you give, you build. When you build, you inspire. And when you inspire, you leave a legacy that no one can erase. That is the ultimate power. That is the ultimate strength. And that is the greatest motivation of all.